Eunice Howe. Does anyone know Eunice? Have you heard of her in Seattle? I'm just asking. Eunice Howe from Unite Here and president of APALA's Seattle chapter. Eunice is going to help present the Vera Cruz Lifetime Achievement Award. Hey.
Good evening, siblings. How's everyone doing tonight? Woo, woo. My name is Eunice Howe, and I'm the Seattle chapter president and proud to serve my union, Unite Here, under the National Executive Board of APALA. And it is so fitting that my wonderful sister, Tracy Lai, is receiving the Vera Cruz Award tonight. All right. It honors those whose dedication, leadership, and passion inspired a new generation of Asian American and Pacific Islander organizers. And Tracy does just that. She's mentored me and other young folks in the Seattle chapter. She's educated many, many students in her career as a professor at Seattle Central Community College. Almost 10 years ago, my very first APALA meeting was in Tracy's living room. Jason mentioned Tracy's living room as well, so all right, I see a trend. I was a nervous baby organizer, clutching my clipboard because I was going to ask APALA for the endorsement of a hotel boycott and then never come back to APALA again. Well, look where I am now. I'm still here. I felt so welcome the moment I walked in her door. She said, "Take a seat. I'm glad you're here. Grab a plate, have some food." It felt like home. I didn't know I needed a space of organizers who looked like me, and Tracy takes so much care to love and cultivate such a space. When Tracy asked me to run for chapter president, I said no. Like a good organizer, she didn't give up and she adjusted the ask. She encouraged me by meeting me where I was at, creating a co-chair model where I could truly learn alongside her until I felt more ready to be president. 2 years ago, when the Asian spa women workers were murdered in Atlanta, Tracy and another chapter leader, Amy, went right to work creating presentations connecting the history of anti-AAPI hate to labor oppression, educating our community and allies in this time of crisis. She came to present at my local, Unite Here Local 8, and to this day, colleagues talk about how impactful it was. She was always so generous and patient with sharing her knowledge and time in pursuit of political knowledge and social justice. These are just two stories that illustrate what an amazing person Tracy is. So Sister Tracy, please come on up. It is my honor to present to you the Vera Cruz Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh my. Well, thank you, Eunice, for those words, my sister in the struggle, and sharing leadership of Seattle chapter and growing that chapter. Receiving this award, of course, makes me think about Vera Cruz's remarkable life and legacy. And I'd like to quote some of his words, captured in an interview that Kent Wong did with him some time ago. Philip said, "My life within the union, my life now outside the union are all one. My continual struggle to improve my life are all, and the lives of my fellow workers. But our struggle never stops." And I think about those words because at the heart of APALA is to bridge workers and communities. And to me, so much of Vera Cruz's legacy embodies that. Philip left a very deep impression on me. When I was an undergraduate student at UC Berkeley, we made a pilgrimage to Agbayani village, which the farm workers had created for Manongs, and there were projects that the students could come and participate in, but probably the most memorable part was hearing the stories and learning about what Philip's life was like, about what the resident Manongs, what they were thinking about in their lives. And a poem that Philip Vera Cruz wrote would later become kind of an anthem of the Asian American movement. Some of you may remember that, Prophets Enslaved the World, written in 1973 and put to music by Chris Bautista, and other groups have come to sing it. Don't worry, I'm not gonna sing it. But I do wanna quote a paragraph that in many ways, that's part of why I ended up in ethnic studies and why I wanted to teach ethnic studies. So I'm partway into this beautiful poem, and he is reflecting on what he has found as an immigrant and worker in the United States. In the enviable Garden of Eden, land of affluence and poverty, since then I was a hungry stray dog, too busy to keep myself alive. It seems equality and freedom will never be where millionaires thrive. How true those words still are. From those visits to Agbayani village, I came away thinking about my privilege as a college student and what I owed my community and what I needed to put those skills and knowledge to work. And this is at a time when Asian American Studies was still fielding the community studies major. It's a little bit harder to find right now. But I still firmly believe Asian American Studies that's where it started from. And in case you're here in Seattle again in April of 2024, I just want to say that Moon Ho Jung, whom you heard earlier, well, let's see, was it yesterday? Before our action supporting the Embassy Suite workers, Moon Ho Jung and I are co-chairing the site committee, and he and I have decided that we really want to move Asian American Studies through whatever site visits they do to a more radical vision. Go back to those roots. Mm-hmm. So Philip Vera Cruz, his life as an organizer, I hope that it is a lot more well-known and taught, and that those of you who have studied or learned about Filipino-American history can hold dear and close to your heart just what heroes he and Larry Itliong are because of their fabulous, amazing leadership in the Delano Great Strike and in helping to give birth to the United Farm Workers and all the kind of organizing that continues to be a model for. And this all makes me think about my own connections through my own history and ancestry to our forerunners. And so in my own case, I'm a third-generation paper granddaughter. And if I invoke that name as a paper granddaughter, then you know that it's the exclusion laws that shaped my family history, so that I was introduced as Tracy Lai, but that's the paper name because when my grandfather on my dad's side came through, he was a Lai by that uncle in the village because that was the only way that he could come into the United States, where he first picked apples in Visalia, California, later moving to San Francisco, Chinatown, where he tried and failed in a number of laundries, couldn't quite get that off the ground as a small business, but eventually worked the steam press in a Levi Strauss sweatshop alongside his young bride who made Levi's jeans on those industrial sewing machines. Although Chinese immigrant rights were so constrained in Chinatown, he still dreamt of a new China that would regain its sovereignty and expel the imperialists. And even as they sent remittances home, there was that chance that he might also someday go home to that Pearl River Delta village, a Gold Mountain man, but he never made it back. On my mother's side, she grew up on Mott Street in New York, Chinatown. She was the 8th child, and that was maybe just one too many, as her mom passed away while she was still quite a young girl. And contrary to that model minority myth, family is the most important thing to a Chinese, in the Chinese culture. They cut her loose, and as the 8th child, she ended up in Ming Kwang Orphanage in Oakland, Chinatown. And I just want to name that because from my mom, I certainly learned to value the importance of women making their own way in the world. Depend on yourself. I also would like to give thanks to how I even come to be standing here, and it's been referred to several times, or more than several, throughout our convention. The one-on-one, it's the organizing and the relationships. All the people that I have been honored to work with over all these years have given me strength, purpose, and hope. My family, my partner, Stan Shakuma's here. If we don't support each other in our organizing efforts, then it's really hard to keep everything together. My local union, AFT 1789, and I have several colleagues here in the house. If not for my local, I don't know if I would have made it through tenure. It's, you know, some people say that, oh, tenure at the community college, that's like no big deal, but I can name you all the faculty of color who did not get tenure because they got pushed out. And if not for my local, and certainly if not for APALA, I don't know that I would have been able to stay in as I have. Not only my local union, but my statewide federation. Thank you, President Karen Strickland. And certainly National AFT. Through the Civil and Human Rights Department, I had opportunities that I don't think I could have asked for because I didn't know they were there. And that kind of mentorship is invaluable because I think it was said earlier, maybe it was Jason right before me, when you start out, you don't think, I'm gonna be a union leader. You see other people and you admire them, and you might aspire to be like them, but you don't necessarily see yourself that way. So it's those other opportunities, it's the one-on-one, it's the organizing of each other, and that support that makes a lot of this happen. Certainly, National Executive Board, yes, of APALA, and absolutely my very own chapter. You're the ones who have kept me in and will keep me going. I'll say that if not for APALA and AFT, I would not have received a community college fellowship to research and write curriculum about the Wards Cove Packing Company, Supreme Court case, and cannery workers, Alaskan cannery workers, and I'm sure you'll be hearing more about this because that's part of my focus. It's something that's not being taught about. People are not appreciating the significant leadership that the cannery workers have given to this seminal civil and labor rights case. So you'll be hearing more about that because it's, you know, so central, I think, to the progress we still need to make in our struggle for democratic rights. When you receive a Lifetime Achievement Award, it seems like it's an endpoint. But, if anything, we are in a time of great urgency. Our communities and API workers have many, many needs. I mean, we are in crisis. And APALA, we're gonna rise to meet those needs. We will nurture and train more Vera Cruz organizers and leaders. And I invite you to join me in that struggle. Thank you.